What happens when success finally gives you options? Sold a thriving business? Built a strong family? Faith at the center? But now the real question hits. What does the second half of life look like? On Leveraging Success, Chad Hodges wrestles with time, calling, fatherhood, and where his family's kingdom impact should grow. This isn't about chasing more, it's about chasing what lasts forever. Watch the full conversation on Leveraging Success because success is just the beginning. Well, let me introduce Chad Hodges. Chad, you've been married to your wife, Andrea, for 20 years, and you guys met at Union University in Tennessee, where you got your BA in Biblical Studies. So I wonder, as you were thinking of the world back when you were in college, what a Biblical Studies degree was going to get you, but you went on to get your MBA from Liberty. You guys started a family. You've got four amazing kids, and you just adopted your youngest daughter, Helena, from Hungary back in May. So you guys have done incredible work to build a family, but that wasn't it for you. You started a plumbing, HVAC, and electrical business that grew and grew and grew, and then sold it in 2019. And since then, you've been involved in all sorts of development of different kind of businesses. One of the things that I'm most excited about, which you have a hat on today, Service Fanatics, an incredible new plumbing, HVAC, and electrical service business in South Florida, Southwest Florida, all focused on how do you service incredibly your clients with a background belief that if you service them well, you'll be able to show the love of Christ both to your clients and to those who are working in your business. It's an amazing business. You've been involved in all sorts of faith-based initiatives, gospel patrons, your foundation, Matthew 6 Foundation. Your guys, you and Andrea are passionate about adoptions and foster care through global missions. You're not only an outdoorsman, but your care is to see that in every environment you bring your leadership. And that leadership started, as we've talked before, back in college with your fraternity and how quickly you became the leader there. And as your leadership has grown, it's just been a matter of service. I couldn't imagine a company started by Chad Hodges having a better name than Service Fanatics. It's really the DNA of who you are. Chad, thanks for taking some time to have this conversation here on Leveraging Success.
Yeah, thank you. Excited to be here, Jeff.
Chad, so let's ground on a couple of things. One, your hard work in your 20s and 30s gave you the ticket to the dance to be able to have a lot of control about what the end is going to look like. Now, you don't get absolute control, but you get some discretionary choices that you can make from here because of that. And so the big question is, what do I do with the rest, and how do I make sure that it maximizes? But the background, the noise that you and I and all of us are working through is to make sure that we don't let the enemy tell us that we don't have enough time. Because if we believe we don't have enough time, a scarcity of time will make me make silly decisions. When I still believe that I've got an abundance of time, that I'm not in control, that in fact I'm going to live forever. The moment I said yes to Jesus, my life, whether I'm breathing in this body or living in the next, it is forever. And so the outcomes of the Lord's, I'm just being faithful with an abundance of time. So grounding in that allows me to allow vision, opportunity to be out there. Would you let me pray for our time? Because I think we're entering into an important conversation that not only I think, Chad, can serve you and I, but could serve a lot of people who are thinking the same thing is, oh my goodness, I'm X amount old now. I don't know how many days I've got left. But can I pray and then we'll go after the question that you got?
Absolutely.
Let's do it. Lord God, you, through your servant Moses in Psalm 90 said, teach us to number our days that we would gain a heart of wisdom. God, I don't know how many days I've got left. And with the fact that we continue to see people come and go and pass, people that are our age or slightly older, and it starts to make us sense that this isn't going to be the same way. Even though my mind is telling me, God, that I'm still 19, my body's saying something different, and my culture and the people around me are starting to sense there's a big milestone that'll transition me from this life to the next. God, we want to make the most of this time, but we also don't want to live in worry or anxiety, or to put ourselves in a place where we feel like we got to figure, is it the red wire, the blue wire, the green wire that we got to clip because we're going to make the perfect choice. And if we clip the wrong wire, we're going to blow things up. Our children are going to leave their faith. I don't know if we'll hang on to our marriage, and all sorts of things that can play in our minds in the background. So, God, we're just coming to this conversation. We're asking for you to speak in us and through us, that this conversation would be powerfully impactful to Chad and I, and to those who are listening, that they would consider their life for the abundance they have because they said yes to Jesus. And we trust in you, Christ, for that. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
3 years from now, what are the things that are true about your marriage? And what are some of the things that you've experienced 3 years from now?
3 years from now, I've got a senior in high school, about to launch him into adulthood. So hopefully the hard work and the fruit of what I've poured into my oldest child, my son Emery, is blossoming, and I see just an extreme level of joy and confidence in his walk with Jesus, and that there's no doubt that he's a world changer. And then I've got my three other kids, and my daughter would be in high school as well. My hope is that they all fully understand what it looks like to walk with the Lord, to love his word, to pray often. And all that comes from me and my wife, Andrea, modeling that on a daily basis. So we've got to fight for that and continue to be disciplined, to be people of the disciplines, spiritual disciplines. I just hopefully through that, my children, the things that maybe weren't modeled for me very much as a kid through my parents. So I've had to, what I feel like is work really hard and learn things on my own is now second nature for my kids and comes easier.
Okay, that makes sense. So, grounding again, your parents, were they believers when you were
Yes.
growing up? They didn't model that for you, but I'm going to tell you, I think you turned out fantastic. So, um, grounding would say that it wasn't them, it was the
Yeah.
Lord.
Oh, yeah.
Fair? So, just grounding, I'm then saying, well, I have my contribution, but not my control.
Oh, yeah.
Fair? These dreams we have are dreams that we've got for each of our kids. And so you're grounding under I have dreams for Emery, Addie, Beckett, Helena, and I want to make sure that anything that I can do to make those dreams happen, but I don't get to control the outcomes. And then just we realize that's the way God looks at us, right? Is that he's been dreaming of things for me. He's been planning for good works for me to do in advance, and things that he's hoping for. But he's not got his hand in my back and trying to move my mouth. And there's a amount of choice that I've got that God allows for. So we're both reflecting God's love for us and the lack of control and our own hope for, plan for, advance to create scenarios for, but a lack of control on the outcome of those four beautiful kids that you've got. Do you ground in that, or do you push back? Because I just find high achieving people, one of and my biggest challenge is that I believe that I'm in control, but it's not true. and I have to fight with that. Is that something that you wrestle with when you're thinking about this? Is that you actually don't get to choose their outcomes?
I don't think that's something I struggle with as far as controlling the outcomes for my kids. I I'm definitely not a helicopter parent, or I think the new term is a bulldozer parent. Um, they've got to go trip and stumble and fall and make their own mistakes. I'm going to give them an abundance of tools that they can be successful with, but they they're going to launch into adulthood independent and make their faith their own and blaze their own trail. And I'm there uh, as an advisor and a coach. And hopefully, I've given them all the tools they need to be successful. And knowing that God is sovereign, um, tomorrow's not promised, and He holds it all. Um, and I'm not here to make choices for my kids.
Let's move into the 3-year vision again, and get into the family side. You can fast forward 3 years from now and know how old they're gonna be and what school they're gonna be. You'll have roughly 2 in high school, 2 in elementary, or
Yeah.
basically in that range-ish. But take me to the place of your vision 3 years from now. Um, who have they become, or what has the family become? And what experiences have you had in those 3 years? You're telling me 3 years from now, you're telling me the story of, "Jeff, I've had the best 3 years of my life. God's shown up in so many ways." What's the story that finishes that, Chad, over the next 3 years where you could say that these were the experiences and things that we did as a family 3 years from
Hmm.
now?
Right now, I can envision two roads or tracks. Um, one is staying in Naples, Florida, and another is possibly living somewhere else. And if we stay in Naples, I can see 3 years from now, looking back over the last 3 years, so 28, 27, 26. The experiences we've had are kind of international missions experiences, going to Life Song for Orphans is an organization that we love and partner with and have traveled with. Um, so we would definitely take some really cool mission trips with them, working alongside their orphan care and their schools, possibly in Africa, Ukraine, and Poland. I just see a wealth of experience that way for our family, and them just showing them how big the world is, because I want to show them how big our God is. Um, so there's that track. There's another track of us leaving everything we've known here in Naples and moving somewhere else for a little bit different of a lifestyle. Um, More of a simple country lifestyle, not surrounded by the busyness and the crazy wealth that's here in Naples and those kind of distractions. And that I could see that being formidable in my kids' lives and our lives as a family, where it really brings us together because we all went somewhere we don't know anybody. And that really just would create an amazing bond. I know for when Andrea and I got married right out of college in 2006, and we moved to Washington, D.C. for my job right out of college, and we didn't know anyone. And for those first 2 years of our marriage, I mean, we got back from our honeymoon, jumped in the moving truck a couple days later, and moved. right out of college. So that I would do it all over again. Be newly married and somewhere where it's just us and we have to come together as a team, as a unit. That was an incredibly bonding experience for us as a couple. So I can imagine what that would do for a young family. It would be special and difficult and hard, especially for a high schooler to move would be very hard, but I think we would look back on it and just be so glad we did that as well. Those are 2 tracks I can see in the next 3 years that I'm wrestling with what does God want? And sometimes I think these decisions can be difficult as children of a good father. Because in many ways, as a dad, if my one of my kids comes to me and says, "Hey, I'd like to think about doing this or that," it may be something where I tell him, "Well, you should definitely not do option B. You should do A." Or they both might be good. And I might say, "I love you no matter what. I support you. They're both good things. You decide. I've got your back either way." And those kind of life decisions, I think sometimes God operates in a similar way, and which makes it hard to be like, why can't you just tell me? Just give me a sign.
Yeah, but if he tells you, then that's the I can blame you if it doesn't go good, God. Like whenever there's a problem, you told
Yeah.
me to do this. What if it was that situation where instead of being directed, it's, well, what do you want, Chad? One, two, there's no taking a perfect option. There will be challenges in either one. And then three, the thing that I'm really thinking as you described all that is, in either case, what would keep you from having all of those tracks no matter where you land? Meaning, uh, could you get the outcomes of bonding as a family through something challenging while doing international missions? And if you decided to move away from Naples, could you not also do international missions and create the big world, big God feeling in either case? I don't see a track that couldn't happen. Both of those couldn't happen no matter what you choose there. Do you see something I don't see?
No, I think you're right. I think I can have my cake and eat it too. um, which just that makes decisions even harder. Uh,
Yeah,
there's just so many good options. You know, be careful. So you've heard the phrase, be careful what you ask for.
right.
And
You might just get it.
to whom much is given, much is required. And the more options we have, I think that's in this society, in this time. Like people say it's so much harder now than it was, 10, 20 years ago without technology and all that. And it's harder to walk with Jesus in this society, which I agree with, because we have so many options and good choices. And I mean, do you want how many flavors of liquid death sparkling water is there? Like the choices in just sparkling water in this country. Do I want a cold plunge this morning or do I want a sauna later? What temperature of my shower do I want? I mean, I think there's something like 5 billion people, which that number's hard to wrap your head around, in the world today that will never take a hot shower in their life. So
You're
we're
absolutely right.
just incredibly blessed, and we are. I mean, if you had a hot shower in the last 24 hours, you are in the 1% of the world. You're wealthy. But with all those choices, just brings a myriad of difficult, yeah, choices, difficult choices.
Well, so with all that privilege, it's really a question of what do you want as your outcome? And because we're believing now that I have more to live than just the life in this bag of water, that I'm actually going to live forever. And so because of that, I'm not constraining my experiences. In fact, the best experience we'll ever have will be after our last breath. And so there's so much better ahead. And so I want to make sure that what I do here is going to give me the outcomes that would honor God and would create an eternal echo because of my story. There would be our story repeated over and over again over long tables celebrating Christ and in eternity. So because I can take the equation off the table that I gotta have all the experiences, then I don't have to lock myself into, have I tasted every version of a filet mignon at every temperature possible, with every wine pairing that could be, that sort of experience, cataloging is unnecessary. And having experienced so much of that, now we're just coming back to the question, Chad. What do you really want? What do you want in this world? What do you want to do? What do you want your life's outcome to be? And we're just going 3 years ahead rather than trying to say the rest of the next 20, 30, 40 years. Just the next 3. What are some outcomes that would make you thrilled, proud, that they could last forever? What are you looking for?
Yeah, I mean, you're spot on. That what will last forever. The only thing that matters is what lasts forever in eternity with the Lord. So that's the question. Um, you know, stop getting paralyzed in analysis and boil it down to an eternal perspective and what really matters for the next 3 years, which for me, in the stage that I'm at with my family, my number one place of ministry is my family. Um,
Hmm.
that's what I have to focus on. My number one job is to serve my wife and prepare her to meet Jesus. I mean, that's Ephesians 5. And my second job is to do that for my children, to serve them and prepare them for a life in service for the Lord. So what do I focus on with that in mind as the number one priority?
Essentially, you're a farmer that said, there's soil in Florida, there's soil in other places, which is going to yield the best fruit for the outcomes that I'm expecting here, to have a ministry in your family and to set up Andrea for an incredible eternity, to present her as spotless as possible in support of her faith and guiding in that faith. So, with that as an outcome, can you talk about the soil that's in Naples and its service to those outcomes versus another place? One, and then I continue to want to put you back 3 years from now to be able to, you know, have a vision for the outcome of your family, of your marriage, because that may be able to help you backtrack to the choice you want to make right now based on where you're trying to get to 3 years from now. But just do a soil test, so to speak, with me here. What good things could you say out of Naples are you gonna be able to produce in your family and in your marriage as a result of being there?
We have deep roots. The soil is very well prepared and watered because we've been here for so long and invested so much. Um, and it is hard to imagine. I mean, we have rich, rich relationships here. If we left, the ones that are deep will remain, just look a little different. But I think what I've been hearing from the Lord is I need to really value prioritize my time. And the most important thing in my life right now is discipleship of my family. My kids are going to be, they're young, but they're going to be gone before I know it, as you know, Jeff. And so I have limited time to disciple them before they fly out of the nest. So, what will give me the most? I'm looking for quality and quantity time with them. And that might not have anything to do with location. That might be arranging some things in my life that maybe they're good, but they're not the highest use of my time. And I need to get them off my plate either through selling an asset or delegating a responsibility or just saying no.
You know, I think of the way that Jesus made himself scarce at moments where he was off praying alone, and he did what he needed to make sure that his mission was intact. And so for you, you're looking at, what do I need to do? What are the things that you, as you say no to, the boundaries of, or to create the scenario? Do you need to go into the desert, so to speak, to be able to get away from and work on family? Is a move going to separate you from things so that you can move the noise, the busyness away from you, and have a natural physical separation that would create a bonding while you go through, as a family, the birthing of, we need new relationships, a new church, a new community, that would create the outcomes that you're looking for, even though you would anticipate some strife and some challenge on that side that could be there? Or do you want to attempt to uh, create the margin, as you say, well, delegating, eliminating, saying no to some things so that you chop, 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 and create the space and time? Because as I read my notes back, it looks to me like prioritizing time is sort of the secret to this choice, is how am I going to be, as the father and husband, able best to create a scenario where I prioritize time? Is that a fair way to look at this, Chad?
Yeah, I think that's pretty spot on.
If that's the case, then we were doing the soil testing, is what I was saying a minute ago. What is the soil test for you in terms of what's going to give you the greatest ability? And it's, we can all say that, yeah, I can stand in the crowd and still put my headphones on and keep the noise out and somehow stay concentrated and stay focused. But is that something you're going to be able to do where you're at? Or do you need a true disruption in your family so that you can create a whole new set of values and experiences? Which is going to serve you best?
You're getting at the question, which is really good because it's, if I'm thinking about the different soils, Naples versus, let's say, Tennessee, new soil versus, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of weeds and moles and weasels and um, birds and distractions in this soil. So, but there's a challenge of new soil as well. And I don't know if we're gonna get to the answer. I don't think I'm getting off this call and going to my wife and say, Jeff and I figured it out. I've got the answer of what we're supposed to do for the next few years of our life. But that, I think you did boil down the question of where, which scenario is going to give us, my wife and I, the amount of quantity, quality time that we need to go after what's most important right now, which is the discipleship of our children.
And there, Chad, you can use that as the test and the prayer request, right? God, show me where the quality and quantity time is going to be best serving investing in this family, investing in this marriage for the outcomes that you've given me vision for, So where am I going to be able to best get the quality quantity time? So in prayer, and then creating questions around it, creating curiosity questions. What systems can we create here in Naples that are going to allow for quality quantity time? What do I have to say no to, God, right now that I need to move off? Or who do I need to involve to outsource some of this so that I can continue to bat this back and create a margin for me? And what does that look like when I test what that margin will look like in quality and quantity? And run curiosity questions and prayers around that. And the same thing for Tennessee or elsewhere, trying to determine that if you're going on a house visit or you're spending time with people that you know in those communities, testing what's the quality quantity time. Is moving there going to allow me to create an anonymity for some time that's going to help me to set the walls high in protection of time? And am I being honest with myself? Am I being honest with myself that getting somewhere else that I could stay in that anonymity plus high walls and protection of time, that I will get to where I'm hoping to. So those curiosity questions and conversations centered on, what's the quality quantity time that we're going to have, Andrea, as we consider uh, Tennessee, Florida, elsewhere, and letting that be that, and in prayer, that might be the hinge point for you to be able to make a decision.
Yeah. No, that's really good. I mean, we have anytime you spend a lot of time in one place, um, you're successful, your influence grows, and inevitably you get a lot of different people asking for your time. Pretty soon you all of a sudden your days are full of giving yourself to other people, lunches, breakfast, coffees, you name it. Um, and I don't have a traditional full-time job. I set my own schedule, and you just get all that pulling, and people asking for your time. And it just makes me wonder, if I was somewhere else and that wasn't an option for people, is that the solution? Um, or do I need to learn to say no better? Which most people are really bad at, and probably everyone can get better at.
Let me give you a quick quote. I like this quote from James Clear, who's the author of Atomic Habits. He says, "You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems." So when you're thinking about this, whether you're elsewhere or staying put, uh, some of this will involve systems that are going to continue to give you what you want in quality and quantity of time. So, what kind of systems do we need to have? That could be a curious question with Andrea. What are the ways with which we are going to start to say yes or no to things? What people systems or process systems or agreements do we need to have between us and our marriage or our family that get us those outcomes? The the challenge again for the high achiever like you, Chad, is that it seems like we're doing our best work when our hands are on our keyboards or when we're out talking to people. But the truth of the matter is that leaders do their best work with their feet up on their desk, thinking, asking these kind of questions so that they can make the choices to go into the battle with the right boundaries and set up protection for the outcomes that you want to bring. Otherwise, you're going to feel like an ATM, not only of money, but of time and talent that you're dispensing all the time, wondering, what's the outcome? What's the outcome? What's the outcome? So my encouragement to you is to be spending time in those curious questions with her, using those curious questions around quality, quantity time with the Lord, and letting that surface for you a test with which, since the Lord has so far given you a pretty clear, it's up to you. I'm letting you, be the king in this scenario, leading a family to take his kingdom where God would allow it. So fun, challenging, and a fantastic opportunity for you.
Yeah, it is. One thing I'm definitely going to do weekly is fast 1 day a week, um, maybe more, and see if I can twist God's arm into giving me some clarity. I joke, but yeah, to
Yeah.
hear the Lord more clearly.
Sure. And I bet our Father has some preferences or some insights. And often it's just the right question that it needs to get asked. Father, what will our marriage look like if we go down this route? Father, what will Emery become if we go down this route? Can you give me some vision or some clarity of opportunity? And then, boom, a phone call, an email, an opportunity presents itself and starts to say, oh, that could be the outcome of this. So we still, as believers, really as humans, we realize that we don't get control. We have to release our preferences to God. We make our preferences known. God, this is the outcome that I'm looking for, but I'm giving you this preference and control, and I'm going to do my best and trust you for the way that the story turns out. Chad, I think this is the kind of conversation all of us need to hear and think about, because the ability to wrestle with these choices and making sure our life is going to matter, it echoes, especially in a man's heart, I think, when we get to these days where we say, I've lived and gone around the mountain a few times now. I don't know how many more trips around the mountain I get. And God, would you help me to make sure that it's best with whatever is left that would honor you? So, hey, let me encourage you. I'm impressed. I know God's going to continue to reveal that as you're persistent, banging on that door, asking Him for input, and being curious around that. So, God bless you. I'm going to pray for you in that you get that right answer, and that we'll all continue in that process. So, God, we're in a story that you're writing, and all our eyes can see is how much of a canvas you've allowed us to see of the bigger art piece that you're making. Someday you'll allow us, I hope, to be able to have drawn back far enough to see the bigger canvas that you're painting on. But right now, all we see is our square and that very large, enormous canvas. And so we're making the best out of what we've got, trying not to leave messes, and knowing that even those messes you're going to make beautiful for your glory. I pray your blessing on Chad and all of those who are listening as we continue on this, God, that we would not live in scarcity of time, that we would believe we already live forever, and that the story that you're going to build will be because of your faithfulness, and that we just want to be a part of that, being close to you, journeying with you. We love you, Jesus, and we honor you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Hey, thanks, Chad, for being here today. Appreciate it very much. Great talking with you.
You too.
Hey, you just heard from my friend Chad Hodges, and Chad's viewpoint is one that we're all dealing with: is what am I going to do with what I have left? Do I need to move my family? Do I need to stay here? And how do I make sure that we don't let the noise of this world crowd out what's most important? And Chad's really working on that because he really, really cares about his outcomes. He cares about his family, his wife, and the Lord most of all. And so as you listen to that, I hope that that challenged you in a way with which you can see yourself thinking through the most important question, finding it, being curious with the Lord, using that to test the soil of the opportunity for the greatest fruit in your life. Hey, if you enjoyed this episode of Leveraging Success, hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell if you're listening on YouTube. That'll give you a notice that we've got a new episode that we drop every week here. Great coaching conversations with amazing people who, as you listen to them, you're going to get some great ideas on how you can accelerate your life. Subscribe to our podcast. We're grateful for this community. And if you'd like to reach out and ask questions or get connected with me, just reach out to Jeff at leveragingsuccesspodcast.com. That's Jeff at leveragingsuccesspodcast.com. I'd love to interact with you, entertain your questions, and maybe have you on this with me here. All right, until next time, God bless you.